Welcome back to Primitive Advice. Today, we're talking about 7 Stoic habits that can help you stop worrying and stop overthinking. Habits inspired by the private writings of Marcus Aurelius. Marcus Aurelius ruled one of the most powerful empires on earth. Wars were happening on nearly every border. A plague was tearing through his cities. People around him flattered him to his face while working against him behind his back. Even his own body was often weak and sick. He had every reason to complain, every reason to spiral, every reason to give up on the day before it even began. And yet, almost every night, exhausted from ruling millions of people, he sat down by candlelight and wrote to himself. Not for an audience, not to impress anyone, but simply to survive one more day without losing his mind. And if a man carrying that much weight could find stillness, you can find it too. Overthinking is not a personality trait you're stuck with. It doesn't mean you're broken. It's a habit, a mental pattern you've repeated so many times that it now runs automatically. But like any habit, it can be interrupted. It can be replaced. Here on Primitive Advice, we don't do vague motivation. We break things down into habits you can actually use. So let's begin. Rule number 1, separate what is yours from what isn't. Most of the anxiety you carry every day doesn't come from your actual problems. It comes from problems that were never yours to solve. What your co-worker thinks about you, whether the economy crashes next year, how your ex is living their life, whether a stranger on the internet approves of your decisions. You cannot control these things. And yet, you may spend hours gripping them as if worrying could change the outcome. The Stoics called this the dichotomy of control. The idea is simple. Some things are up to you. Your effort, your choices, your honesty, your discipline, and how you respond when something goes wrong. Everything else is outside your control. Other people's opinions, the past, the weather, the outcome of an interview after you've already done your best, the actions of people who don't share your values. So the next time a worry enters your mind, stop, take 3 seconds and ask yourself, is this inside my control or outside it? If it's outside your control, release your grip. Not because you don't care, but because holding on to something you cannot change only exhausts you. Put your energy where it actually matters, on the things you can move, the things you can influence, the things that are truly yours. Rule number 2, judge the event, not your story about it. Marcus Aurelius understood something powerful. We are often disturbed less by what happens and more by the meaning we give to what happens. Losing money is a fact. Believing you're a failure who ruins everything, that's a story. Getting rejected from a job is a fact. Believing you'll never be good enough, that's a story. A friend doesn't text you back for 2 days, that's a fact. Believing they're angry with you, that's a story. Your mind is a professional storyteller. Reality gives you one small fact, and your mind can turn it into an entire tragedy. So when you feel panic rising, pause, separate the fact from the story. Ask yourself, what actually happened? And then, what am I telling myself about what happened? Those are 2 different things. And once you learn to separate them, you'll realize that many things you feared were never as unbearable as your mind made them seem. Rule number 3, rehearse the worst, then let it go. This sounds strange at first, but the Stoics used a powerful practice called premeditatio malorum. the premeditation of adversity. Instead of constantly running away from your worst fears, face them calmly for a few minutes. Take the thing you're most afraid of right now, losing your job, losing your savings, a relationship ending, someone you love becoming sick. Now make the fear specific. What would actually happen? Where would you go? Who would you call? What would you do the next morning? Walk through the scenario. And then ask yourself one question. Could I survive this? Not, would it be easy? Of course it wouldn't. But could you survive it? Most of the time, the answer is yes. You would struggle, you would grieve, you would hurt. And then you will wake up the next morning and take the next step. That's the strange power of facing fear. Vague fear is powerful because it stays vague. But once you look directly at it, you take away much of its power. Rule number 4, return to the present moment on purpose. Overthinking rarely happens in the present. It happens in a future that hasn't happened, or in a past that cannot be changed. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, confine yourself to the present moment. So when your mind begins to spiral, come back to right now. Feel your feet against the floor. Notice the object in front of you. Listen to the sounds around you. Feel your breath. Focus on the task directly in front of you, because whatever disaster your mind is imagining about next month doesn't exist right now, and whatever happened last year cannot be changed right now. This moment is real. This moment is yours. Keep returning to it again and again and again. You don't master this once. You practice it every day, and every time you return, the spiral becomes a little shorter. Rule number 5, act instead of ruminate. Here's an uncomfortable truth. Thinking about a problem can feel like progress. Even when nothing is actually changing, your mind keeps moving, but your life stays still. The Stoics were practical. If you could act, act. So when you catch yourself repeating the same worry again and again, ask yourself, what is the one physical action I can take right now? Not the entire solution, just the next step. Send the message, make the phone call, open the budget, write the email, take the first step. Small action can break a huge mental loop, because rumination survives when nothing is being done. The moment you create movement, the loop begins to lose its power. And remember this, loops don't get solved by more looping. Sometimes they get solved by action. Rule number 6, remember that this too is temporary. Marcus Aurelius returned again and again to one simple truth. Everything is brief, life is brief, and the trials inside it are brief too. The argument you're replaying tonight, the mistake you cannot stop thinking about, the deadline that feels like the end of the world, none of it is permanent, none of it. So when something feels unbearably large, zoom out. Ask yourself, will this matter in 5 years? Will you remember every detail? Will this moment still have the same power over you? For most things, the answer is no. This doesn't make your problems disappear. It simply puts them back into their real size. And here's the beautiful part. If everything is temporary, then your difficult season is temporary too. It is not the final chapter. It is simply a chapter. And chapters end. Rule number 7, choose your inputs like your life depends on it, because in a very real sense, it does. What you read, what you watch, what you listen to, and who you spend time with all shape what occupies your mind, and what occupies your mind eventually shapes who you become. Marcus Aurelius guarded his attention deliberately. He avoided gossip, He limited idle talk, and he stayed away from unnecessary noise. So look honestly at your own daily inputs. If your feed is filled with outrage, comparison, fear, and manufactured urgency, don't be surprised when your mind starts treating everything like an emergency. Your attention is being trained, so choose what enters your mind. Cut the inputs that consistently leave you anxious, inadequate, or agitated. You wouldn't feed your body with anything you found lying around, so don't feed your mind that way either. Feed it on purpose, not by default. None of these 7 habits require you to become a completely different person overnight. You don't need a dramatic transformation. You don't need years of study. You don't need to disappear to a mountain. You need repetition, the same quiet, unglamorous repetition that Marcus Aurelius practiced night after night. He wasn't calm because his life was easy. It wasn't. He faced war, plague, betrayal, and enormous pressure. He was calm because he practiced again and again and again. You don't need permission to start. You don't need the perfect moment. You don't need the perfect mood. You need the next 5 minutes. Pick just one of these 7 rules, only one, and use it the next time your mind begins to spiral. That's how an ancient philosophy becomes a modern habit, not through one burst of motivation, but through repetition, one small choice at a time. And notice something. None of these habits ask you to feel less. Stoicism isn't about becoming emotionless. It's not about pretending you don't care. Marcus Aurelius was human. He grieved, he feared, he became frustrated. The difference is that he didn't allow his emotions to run the show without supervision. He observed them, he questioned them, and then he chose his response. That's the entire skill. Boiled down to one sentence. Feel what you feel, but choose what you do. If this helped you think a little more clearly today, stay close. This is primitive advice, and there's more where this came from.